The signal arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, piercing through the background noise of space like a needle through silk. Dr. Sarah Chen stood frozen before her terminal at the SETI Institute, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. The pattern was unlike anything she'd ever seen, precise, structured, and unmistakably artificial. Within hours, every major observatory on Earth had confirmed it. Humanity was not alone, and their cosmic neighbors had chosen to make themselves known. The signal contained coordinates for a meeting point just beyond Mars' orbit, along with a time frame: 3 Earth months. Admiral James Morrison sat in the Joint Chiefs Situation Room, studying the holographic projection of the signal's origin. At 63, he'd spent 4 decades preparing Earth's defenses against potential threats, both terrestrial and theoretical. Now, theory had become reality. The signal's structure suggests a civilization at least type II on the Kardashev scale, Dr. Chen explained to the assembled military and civilian leadership. Their ability to precisely target our communication frequencies indicates they've been watching us, possibly for decades. The UN Security Council convened an emergency session. Humanity had 3 months to prepare for first contact, but the question remained: prepare how? For peace? For war? For something beyond their current understanding? The answer came 2 weeks later, when the second signal arrived. This one was different. A direct communication in perfectly synthesized English, Mandarin, Russian, and Arabic simultaneously. The message was simple: your resources belong to the Valkyrie Collective. Surrender them willingly, and your species will be preserved in designated reservations. Resist, and face extinction. Admiral Morrison's response was equally simple: like hell, we will. Project Starbridge was activated within hours, deep beneath the Atacama Desert, in a facility that officially didn't exist. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had spent the last 15 years developing something that shouldn't be possible. The quantum phase manipulator was theoretical, dangerous, and possibly humanity's only hope. We can't match them ship for ship, Morrison told the emergency session of the UN Security Council. But we don't have to. Dr. Rodriguez's technology gives us an option they won't expect. The plan was audacious. While the world's governments publicly debated the Valkyrie ultimatum, appearing divided and fearful, humanity's real response took shape in secret. The ENS Prometheus, Earth's first and only quantum-capable warship, was completed ahead of schedule. Captain Maya Patel stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching Earth shrink behind them as they conducted their first full power test. At 35, she was young for such a command, but her combination of tactical brilliance and physics background made her the only choice for this mission. Quantum core stable at 98%, reported Commander David Cohen, her science officer. The containment field is holding. The ship itself was a marvel of human ingenuity. Unlike traditional vessels, the Prometheus was designed around Dr. Rodriguez's quantum manipulation technology. It didn't just move through space, it could alter the very fabric of reality around it. As the test concluded, Maya received a priority transmission from Earth. The Valkyrie had sent another message, this time with images of their fleet. Thousands of ships, each larger than anything humanity had ever built, were already en route to Sol. They're trying to frighten us, Maya told her crew during the briefing. They want us to spend these last weeks in terror, knowing we can't possibly match their numbers. But they don't understand humanity. We don't need to match them ship for ship. We just need to show them why picking a fight with Earth was their biggest mistake. The Prometheus returned to Earth orbit as the deadline approached. Across the planet, humanity waited. They had placed their hopes not in a massive fleet or overwhelming firepower, but in a single ship and the human drive to find solutions where none seemed possible. Dr. Rodriguez made final adjustments to the quantum core while Maya studied the tactical simulations. The Valkyrie would arrive expecting to find a primitive species cowering before their might. Instead, they would encounter something unprecedented, a species that had learned to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe itself. Are we ready? Admiral Morrison asked during the final briefing. Maya looked at her crew, then at the holographic display showing the approaching Valkyrie fleet. "We're humanity's best shot," she replied. "And sometimes, one shot is all you need." Deep within the quantum physics lab of the Prometheus, Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched streams of data flow across her holographic displays. The quantum core hummed with barely contained power, its crystalline structure pulsing with an otherworldly blue light. She'd spent 20 years developing this technology, but even she couldn't fully predict its potential. "Core stability at optimal levels," reported Lieutenant Sarah Wong, her assistant. "The quantum field is maintaining coherence at ranges exceeding our initial projections." The Prometheus wasn't just a warship, it was humanity's greatest scientific achievement. Its quantum manipulation system could alter the fundamental properties of spacetime within a defined radius. In theory, it could create localized pockets where the laws of physics themselves became malleable. Captain Maya Potil entered the lab, her footsteps echoing on the metallic floor. "Dr. Rodriguez, tell me something good." Elena gestured to the data streams. "The quantum core is exceeding expectations. We've successfully created stable field bubbles extending up to 50,000 kilometers. Within these bubbles, we can alter the basic properties of matter and energy. And the Valkyrie won't be able to detect this. That's the beauty of it." Elena smiled. "They'll be looking for conventional energy signatures, plasma weapons, antimatter drives, gravitational distortion fields. This operates on a level their sensors won't even be calibrated to detect." The ship's intercom crackled. "Captain to the bridge. Priority message from Earth Command." On the bridge, the holographic display showed Admiral Morrison's grim face. "The Valkyrie fleet has passed Saturn's orbit. Their numbers are significant." The tactical display updated, showing thousands of red dots approaching the inner solar system. Each dot represented a warship larger than anything humanity had ever built. The Valkyrie fleet moved with perfect precision, their formation speaking of centuries of military experience. "Initial scans confirm our worst fears," Morrison continued. "Their technology far exceeds our conventional capabilities. Energy readings from their smallest support ships rival our largest fusion reactors." Maya studied the tactical display. "Have they detected the Prometheus?" "No. Dr. Rodriguez's quantum camouflage is working perfectly. As far as they can tell, we have nothing more sophisticated than chemical rockets and orbital defense platforms." The plan was proceeding exactly as designed. While the world's governments made a show of panicked preparation, installing obviously inadequate defense systems and launching primitive interceptors, the real work happened in secret. Commander David Cohen, Maya's tactical officer, had developed a series of scenarios they called the Ghost Protocol. The Prometheus would use its quantum manipulation capabilities not just as a weapon, but as a means of psychological warfare. "The Valkyrie pride themselves on their technological superiority," Cohen explained during the tactical briefing. "They expect us to either cower in fear or throw ourselves uselessly against their defenses. Instead, we're going to show them something that challenges their entire understanding of physics." Dr. Rodriguez had integrated a new feature into the quantum core, the ability to create temporary quantum echoes. These echoes could make the Prometheus appear to be in multiple places simultaneously, each echo capable of affecting the physical world. "It's not just illusion," Elena explained to the crew. "Each echo exists in a different quantum state, but all are equally real while they exist. The Valkyrie will face an enemy that defies their understanding of reality itself." The ship's AI, dubbed Athena, had been specifically designed to coordinate these quantum echoes. It could calculate and maintain multiple quantum states simultaneously, allowing the Prometheus to execute combat maneuvers that should have been impossible. "Final system check," Maya ordered as they prepared for their first full power test of the ecosystem. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the tactical display showed 5 perfect copies of the Prometheus appearing around the original ship. Each echo was indistinguishable from the real vessel, each capable of independent action. Echo stability at 100%, reported Lieutenant Wang. Quantum coherence maintaining across all instances. Maya allowed herself a small smile. The Valkyrie would arrive expecting to find a primitive species ready for conquest. Instead, they would encounter something unprecedented, a civilization that had learned to manipulate the quantum fabric of reality itself. "Send word to Admiral Morrison," Maya ordered. "Operation Silent Shield is fully operational. We're ready for the next phase." As the message was transmitted, she studied the tactical display showing the approaching Valkyrie fleet. They were bringing enough firepower to conquer a dozen worlds, but they were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't firepower. It was the ability to think beyond the impossible. Commander Cohen updated the tactical simulations one final time. The Valkyrie will enter the Jupiter defense perimeter in approximately 48 hours. All our conventional forces are in position to execute their part of the deception. "And we'll be ready," Maya assured her crew. "Humanity isn't going down without a fight. And this fight, it's going to change everything they think they know about us." High Admiral Zextar of the Valkyrie Collective stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching tactical displays track his fleet's progress through the primitive human solar system. 5,000 warships moved in perfect formation, their combined firepower enough to reduce entire continents to ash. "Status report," he commanded, his translator converting his harmonic speech into the standard military frequency. "The humans continue their futile preparations," Sub-Commander Velix reported. "Their orbital platforms are armed with primitive nuclear weapons. Their fleet consists of chemical-propelled vessels with basic kinetic weapons." Zextar's facial ridges rippled in amusement. The humans were exactly as their long-range observations had suggested. A young species, barely able to reach their own moon, still relying on technologies the Valkyrie had abandoned millennia ago. The fleet passed Jupiter's orbit, ignoring the scattered human defense satellites. Their sensors detected increased activity from Earth, launches of primitive interceptors, movement of ground forces, panicked communications between their divided governments. "Preparing broadcast for human surrender terms," announced Communications Officer Renta. A new signal caught their attention. A single vessel had appeared near Mars' orbit, moving with unexpected grace. Its design was unlike the other human ships they'd observed, its hull reflecting light in strange ways. "High Admiral," Velix called out, "the human vessel is requesting direct communication." "How amusing," Zextar mused. "Put them through. Let's hear their pleas for mercy." The holographic display activated, showing a human female in a dark uniform. "This is Captain Maya Patel of the Earth naval ship Prometheus. You have entered restricted space. Withdraw your fleet immediately." The command deck erupted in harmonic laughter. Zextar stepped forward, his massive form dominating the projection. "You face the combined might of the Valkyrie Collective, human. One ship cannot stand against us. Perhaps you should scan us more carefully," Maya suggested, her calm demeanor unchanging. Zextar gestured to his science officer. The resulting scan showed nothing. Their most sophisticated sensors couldn't penetrate the vessel's hull or determine its power source. "Impossible," the science officer muttered. "The readings make no sense." "Would you like a demonstration?" Maya asked. Before Zextar could respond, the impossible happened. The human ship divided. 5 perfect copies appeared around the original, each moving independently, each equally substantial according to their sensors. "What trickery is this?" Zextar demanded. "Not trickery, High Admiral. Science you haven't discovered yet." The Prometheus and its echoes began to move, executing maneuvers that defied physics. They passed through each other, merged, separated, appeared, and disappeared at will. Every scan, every analysis, showed them to be completely real while they existed. "Target those vessels," Zextar ordered. "All forward batteries." Energy beams lanced out from the Valkyrie warships, but the Prometheus and its echoes shifted between quantum states, allowing the attacks to pass harmlessly through them. Then they demonstrated their own capabilities. One of the echoes approached a Valkyrie cruiser. A sphere of distorted space enveloped the massive warship. When it dissipated, the cruiser's hull had transformed from nearly indestructible alloy to fragile crystal. It shattered under its own structural stress. As you can see, Maya's voice remained steady. We don't need to match your numbers. We've learned to manipulate reality itself. Zextar watched in growing horror as his supposedly invincible fleet faced an enemy that ignored the basic laws of physics. The Prometheus and its quantum echoes moved through his formation at will, demonstrating power that shouldn't have been possible. Hold position. He ordered as ships began to break formation. Maintain discipline. But the damage was done. The Valkyrie fleet, for the first time in its 1,000-year history, faced something it couldn't comprehend. Their sensors showed impossible readings, their weapons proved useless, and their most advanced shields meant nothing against an enemy that could alter the fundamental properties of matter. This is your final warning, Maya announced. The Prometheus carries a quantum cascade device. If activated, it will create a chain reaction that will alter the physical constants of space-time throughout this entire sector. Every ship in your fleet will cease to exist as coherent matter. The bridge of the eternal dominion fell silent. Zextar's facial ridges paled. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were threatening to rewrite the laws of physics itself. You would destroy yourselves as well, he argued. If necessary, Maya replied. Humanity would rather face extinction than slavery. But we're offering you a choice. Withdraw your fleet, return to your space, and open diplomatic channels for peaceful contact. Or test whether we're bluffing about our capabilities. Zextar studied the tactical display. The single human ship had effortlessly neutralized dozens of his vessels without destroying them. A demonstration of power more impressive than mere destruction. They had revealed only a fraction of their capabilities, yet what they showed was already beyond anything in the collective's experience. For the first time in his long military career, High Admiral Zextar of the Valkyrie Collective faced an enemy that made him question everything he thought he knew about the universe. And that, perhaps, was humanity's greatest weapon of all. The observation deck of the Prometheus offered a stunning view of the standoff between humanity's lone vessel and the massive Valkyrie fleet. Captain Maya Patel stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the distant ships glitter like metallic stars against the void. They'd been in conference for 6 hours, Commander Cohen reported, joining her at the viewport. Their fleet hasn't moved, but we're detecting intense communications between their ships. Good, Maya replied. Let them argue. Every hour they spend debating is another hour we've kept Earth safe. Dr. Rodriguez's voice came through the intercom. Captain, you should see this. The quantum core is showing some interesting readings. In the physics lab, Alina's holographic displays painted the air with complex equations and energy patterns. Look at these fluctuations, she pointed. The Valkyrie aren't just scanning us. They're trying to replicate our quantum field technology. Can they succeed? Maya asked. No, Alina smiled. They're approaching it from completely the wrong direction. It's like trying to understand nuclear fusion by studying chemical reactions. They don't have the fundamental theoretical framework to even begin comprehending what we're doing. The ship's AI, Athena, interrupted with a priority alert. Captain, the Valkyrie flagship is requesting another communication channel. On the bridge, the holographic display showed High Admiral Zextar, but his usual commanding presence seemed diminished. Captain Patel, we have reviewed your demonstration. The collective proposes a temporary cessation of hostilities for preliminary diplomatic discussions. Maya kept her expression neutral. We accept with conditions. No Valkyrie vessel will approach closer than 1 million kilometers to Earth. Any violation will be considered an act of war. You dictate terms to us. A younger Valkyrie officer burst out. We still outnumber you thousands to one. Numbers, Maya replied calmly. are irrelevant when you can't harm even one of us. Would you like another demonstration? The Prometheus split into its quantum echoes again, this time creating 12 copies instead of 5. Each echo performed increasingly impossible maneuvers, phasing through solid matter, temporarily existing in multiple states simultaneously, and manipulating the quantum properties of space around them. By the eternal void, someone on the Valkyrie bridge whispered. The display of power was carefully choreographed. Dr. Rodriguez had warned that maintaining too many quantum echoes for too long could strain the core, but the Valkyrie didn't know that. As far as they could tell, humanity's mastery of quantum manipulation was unlimited. Your terms are accepted, Zexstar finally said. We will maintain distance, but the collective demands answers. How did your species develop this technology? Our observations showed you barely achieving spaceflight. Maya allowed herself a small smile. High Admiral, did it never occur to you that perhaps we wanted to be underestimated? That every primitive rocket launch, every seemingly crude satellite, was precisely what we wanted you to see. The implications hit home. The Valkyrie had spent years watching Earth, building their invasion plans on what they observed. Now they had to face the possibility that everything they thought they knew about humanity was wrong. Commander Cohen's tactical display showed the Valkyrie fleet's subtle repositioning. They were trying to surround the Prometheus while maintaining the agreed-upon distance from Earth. It was a clever move, but ultimately futile. They're testing our awareness, Cohen muttered. Let them, Maya replied. Athena, initiate Protocol Omega. The quantum echoes disappeared, but now the Prometheus itself began to exhibit strange properties. Its hull became translucent, then completely invisible, then seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously. The ship appeared to fold through dimensions that shouldn't exist, its form suggesting geometries that made the Valkyrie sensors crash from trying to process impossible data. What are you? Zexstar demanded. We are humanity, Maya answered. We are what happens when you back an intelligent, creative species into a corner. We don't think like you do, High Admiral. We don't see limitations. We see possibilities. We don't accept impossible. We simply haven't figured it out yet. The psychological impact was devastating. The Valkyrie had arrived certain of their superiority, ready to add another primitive species to their collection of conquered races. Instead, they faced an enemy that casually defied their understanding of physical law. The diplomatic vessel will arrive in 6 hours, Zexstar announced, his tone carefully controlled. We will discuss terms. After the communication ended, Maya turned to her crew. Well done, everyone, but stay alert. This is the most dangerous phase, when they're scared but haven't yet accepted defeat. Dr. Rodriguez's voice came through again. Captain, I've been analyzing their attempted scans of our quantum field. They're persistent, I'll give them that. But they're working from a fundamentally flawed understanding of quantum mechanics. They literally cannot comprehend how we're doing what we're doing. Perfect, Maya replied. Sometimes the best defense isn't superior firepower or even superior technology. It's making your enemy face something that shakes their confidence in everything they thought they knew. The Prometheus maintained its position, a single ship facing an armada. But in this confrontation, numbers meant nothing. Humanity had changed the rules of engagement entirely, and the Valkyrie were only beginning to understand just how completely they had underestimated Earth. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Prometheus was silent except for the soft hum of the quantum core. Captain Maya Patel sat across from High Admiral Zexstar, while Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood near the holographic display showing complex quantum equations. The tension in the room was palpable. You've achieved what should be impossible, Zexstar said, his translator conveying a mix of fear and admiration. Our greatest scientists have examined your demonstrations. They cannot explain what we've witnessed. Maya exchanged a glance with Elena before responding. Perhaps that's because you're approaching it from the wrong direction entirely. Explain, demanded Zexstar. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward, activating a new holographic display. Your civilization advanced along a path of technological evolution that focused on mastering energy and matter in conventional ways. Bigger ships, more powerful weapons, stronger shields. But you never questioned the fundamental assumptions about how reality works. The display showed the quantum echo effect they had demonstrated earlier. Humanity took a different path. When we realized we couldn't match your numbers or conventional technology, we looked for gaps in reality itself, ways to bend the rules rather than break them. But the power required, Zextar began, is far less than you imagine, Elena interrupted. Because we're not forcing reality to change, we're asking it politely and waiting for it to respond. The revelation hit Zextar like a physical blow. You mean, we don't dominate nature, Maya confirmed. We work with it. Every quantum echo, every reality manipulation, is more like a conversation than a command. That's why you can't replicate it. You're trying to control something that should be collaborated with. In the silence that followed, Athena's voice came through the intercom. Captain, quantum core stability at optimal levels. All systems nominal. The subtle message wasn't lost on Zextar. The humans weren't straining to maintain their impossible technology. They were completely comfortable with it. His final hope that they might be bluffing about their capabilities vanished. The collective has never encountered anything like this, he admitted. Our entire civilization is built on the principle of technological superiority through dominance. But you found another way entirely. Maya leaned forward, which brings us to why we're here. Humanity doesn't want war, High Admiral. We don't seek conquest or dominion. What we want is understanding. Between species, between civilizations, between consciousness and reality itself. You could have destroyed us, Zextar realized. At any point during our approach, you could have triggered your quantum cascade device. We could have, Elena agreed. But that would have violated everything we've learned about working with the quantum nature of reality. Destruction is easy. Understanding is harder and infinitely more valuable. The holographic display shifted to show a new set of equations. We're prepared to share some of our early quantum manipulation research with the collective, Maya offered. Not weapons technology, but the fundamental theoretical framework. A new way of looking at reality itself. Zextar's facial ridges rippled with surprise. You would share such knowledge with those who came to conquer you. The best way to prevent future conflicts is to help potential adversaries understand each other, Maya replied. Besides, you'll find these principles impossible to weaponize. They only work when approached with cooperation and understanding rather than dominance. The implication slowly dawned on the Valkyrie Admiral. Humanity hadn't just developed a new technology. They discovered a new way of existing within reality itself. Their power didn't come from superior weapons or overwhelming force, but from learning to work in harmony with the fundamental nature of the universe. The collective accepts your offer, Zextar announced, and proposes a permanent diplomatic exchange to facilitate mutual understanding. As the formal agreements were drawn up, Commander Cohen approached Maya privately. Should we tell them the whole truth? He whispered. Maya shook her head slightly. They're not ready to know that our quantum manipulation technology is still in its early stages. That most of what they saw was carefully staged demonstrations of principles we're only beginning to understand. Let them believe we've mastered it all. The best victory, Elena added quietly, is the one where your opponent becomes your student willingly. The Prometheus maintained its position between Earth and the Valkyrie fleet, no longer as a warning, but as a bridge between civilizations. Humanity had faced its first major interstellar crisis, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through understanding, both of the quantum nature of reality and of the power of perception itself. In his final report to Earth Command, Admiral Morrison summed it up perfectly. The Valkyrie came expecting to find primitives, and instead found teachers. They came to demonstrate their superiority, and instead learned humility. But most importantly, they came seeking to dominate reality, and instead learned to listen to it. In doing so, they discovered what humanity had already realized, that true power comes not from controlling the universe, but from understanding our place within it.